American humorist Josh Billings once said that Solitude was a good place to visit or a poor place to stay, and I couldn't agree more. What's going on, YouTube? I am Will back here with another video. Hope you all are all doing good. Definitely glad to be back, and just wanted to let you all know that I wasn't gone. I was just taking a break, and I really needed to just step back and reevaluate some things, and that's what I'm hoping to share with you all in this video today. So if you didn't skip the first part, I referenced a quote by Josh Billings. He was an American humorist and writer back in the 1800s, and funny enough, I actually found out about this quote from an anime. If you all have ever heard of Classroom of the Elite, that's where I got it from. That's where I first saw it. But I thought this was very fitting because I was starting to really feel the pressures and the issues that come with being isolated. And just to preference this, I guess this is kind of the talking point of the video. Isolation is definitely something that we all can experience in some form, whether it be a physical isolation or it could be a mental isolation. You could be a person who is standing in the middle of a group and you're with your friends and you can feel isolated, or you can quite literally be isolated. And I definitely am I am just like on my own. I'm just by myself. That's the isolation that I'm experiencing right now. And I think I just want to kind of talk about some of the ways that isolation has affected me and the things that I've learned from it. Now, I really resonated with this quote because I've been by myself before. Anyone who was alive or anyone who was of an age of consciousness when COVID was a thing, we all had some form of isolation, sometimes quite literally because of COVID. But for me, at least, when I was isolated during that time, it was a very strange time for me because I was of both groups, where I felt like I was alone even though I had people around me that I could talk to. But then I also felt alone physically because I just quite literally was living in an apartment on my own. And during that time period, I was able to really see that I was dealing with a lot of issues in my life that I was not satisfied with experiencing. And that ultimately led me to studying the Bible and then getting baptized. And if you want to know more about that story in a further detail, I definitely would like to make a video about that, so would love to share that. But I do have previous videos about that as well. But that was the time in my life where I was very isolated and quite literally just wasn't around anyone. But isolation can come and go. Isolation can be something that can happen in small, short stints, or it could be a long period of time. And that was about a year and a half for me. But in this case, it's really only been about 2 or 3 months. And just to kind of give context on that, when I go back to school, I typically live in an apartment, and I don't really have roommates this time around. But being here and being back at school is definitely a huge blessing for me because I had to take a leave of absence for about a year or so, and then I was able to finally come back, and it was totally of God about how I got back. And when I ended up coming back, I had already knew that this was gonna be like my last semester because I'm a senior, so I'm about to graduate, and some things happen here and there, and now I'm kind of in a position where I might have to do some adjusting to that timeline. But the thing is that being alone in this way, I thought I was actually ready for it. I thought that I was okay. I thought that I would be able to come back and do things that I needed to do, and it was going to be all good. And to a degree, that did happen. But what I started to see from being alone in this way was that I was away from people, and that's not something that I'm unfamiliar with, something that I haven't experienced before. But what I was allowing to happen was that I was allowing the fact that I was alone to affect the ways that I approach being alone. And in doing so, I felt like my faith was weakening. I felt like I was going back into that same position that I was in before I had even started studying the Bible, where I was alone and I had some people around me, but I wasn't fully accepting of what was going on in my life at the time. And being here this long and seeing what I've kind of experienced with that really made me have to think about where I want to go forward with. And I had to really reflect on the fact that I wasn't really doing okay spiritually. I wasn't really doing okay physically. I wasn't just okay at all. And that's the crazy thing about isolation and solitude that really just blows my mind, is because it forces you to have to confront not only the things that are going on around you, but it forces you to confront yourself. Waking up every day and knowing that you're not doing the things that you know that you need to be doing. Waking up every day and knowing that you're not in the space, you're not in the position, you're not in the atmosphere that you need so that you can be productive. And having to actually take some form of accountability for it, that's what isolation will do for you. I don't know if you or if anyone you know has ever experienced anything like that, but it's not fun, it's not comfortable, and most of the time you can't do it on your own. About 99% of the time you can't do it on your own. And that's something that I genuinely had to realize. I was like, man, if I don't say something about how I'm feeling, if I don't express what is going on inside of my mind or what I'm experiencing, what I'm dealing with, and what I'm allowing, then I'm going to be in the same spot, or I'm going to just be worse off than I was before. And that's not something that I wanted. That's not something that I needed. And it really started to become real for me when I started to realize that I was losing the gratitude and just kind of taking everything for granted from me being back here in the first place. And that's a really scary thing just overall when you start to see that you're losing gratitude. But in this context, it was an indicator for me to go and try to get help, to go and try to really see how can I renew my faith, how can I renew my spirituality so that I could actually be at the point where I want to be at the point where I need to be at this point in my life. So that's really what isolation has taught me, is I have to be willing to take some form of accountability for all the things that I'm experiencing and going to get help about it. And what does that help look like? If you're wondering, that help for me was going and speaking to the people that I can trust, speaking to my family, speaking to the brothers and sisters that I have. And that's because of me being able to be a disciple of Jesus and to actually be someone who is aiming to be like Jesus. Like, Jesus had moments of weakness where he was comforted by disciples. He asked disciples to come with him and to watch over him because he was in anguish to the point of death. And I think that for me, it was like, man, I really need to actually rely on those people, but I actually need to rely on God just as much, because I hadn't even really been expressing what I was feeling with him. And I think that that's kind of what I realized, is that the true issue, the true problem that I was facing was that I wasn't relying on God at all in that way. I was very much relying on myself and depending on what I thought was going to actually get me through things, and it ended up not. And then it actually just made me feel worse off than I was from the beginning. So definitely wasn't the best decision. Definitely wasn't something that I even fully realized what was going on. But definitely I'm grateful that I am not in that space right now. I am not thinking like that. But I just wanted to kind of talk about something that I was personally experiencing in real time, because I just know that it can be hard to see that there is some form of other way to do things. Being isolated at times can be something that people enjoy, people want. I mean, heck, I felt like I was an introvert before and I didn't want to talk to a lot of people. So I can definitely understand the isolation, and sometimes, you know, maybe you're around too many people. Maybe you need to step away. That's definitely a real thing. Isolation is not always bad, like what the quote says. It's solitude is a good place to visit. You don't go there and then go on vacation and then you're moving out there. No, like you if you need the isolation for a bit, or if that's something that ends up happening, then you kind of just got to use that moment to realize where you're at, what's going on, what you're gonna do about it. And that's what my hope is that now that I've seen what I need to do and where I'm at, I can actually go forward and reach the place that I want to be at. So hopefully that wasn't too long-winded. Appreciate you all for sticking around and hearing out all the things that I've got going on. And hopefully you all can have some form of conversation about it with yourself, or maybe you can drop something in the comments. Let me know what you think. Definitely have no problem expressing these type of feelings and these different experiences with you all. Definitely want to just be able to help connect. So hopefully that was something that resonated with you. If you like this video, go ahead and drop a like down below. Drop a comment as well. Let me know if you have any thoughts or if you can relate to this as well. And subscribe to the channel. Definitely want to just continue to go on this path of posting videos and making this my normal. So looking forward to seeing you all in the next video. I'll catch y'all in the next one. See ya.